near the Sarasota area of Florida.
I see. Okay.
And are you up in Montreal or somewhere different?
I'm in Toronto myself.
Toronto, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so very pleased to meet you, Jan, Kyle, and Kim. I am Alberto, I'm president of ELCA. That is the main partner in this case. I mean, we manage the organization of this digital training altogether on public procurement, US and Canada. And we are more and more of our cluster that are connecting to this to our session on the Canadian. So I just give a very short introduction to you of our training that is very important also to recap to our cluster managers. So now we are talking about the lesson 6 of our module 2 on Canadian market. This is the part 2B that was very structured by Jan in a very long discussion altogether, but we are very happy about what we are running in this project altogether. We now are running module 2, and we have 3 modules in our digital training. In January, we are going to run module 3 on public procurement with some lessons on the USA market and some lessons on the Canadian market. Okay, so we just to show you the structure of our 48-hour training course on public procurement. Okay, so we run very already a lot of lessons altogether, so very long hours of training for cluster managers and for companies that in some cases attended the lessons, but for sure they can join also the lessons because we record all the lesson to let available just to our company's members. So today we finish this part of our module 2, and in January we are going to run the last 3 lessons on module 3 about training. Okay, so today I have just this presentation. So I don't know if it's updated because we have Sylvian famous in the in the images, but I haven't any updated on that. But is today again module 2 eligibility requirements assessment criteria. For sure, I'll let Jan, Kim, and Kyle to present and give us many information about the Canadian market and 2 of our companies that are very ready to take part in procurement, we hope, in this market. But for sure, we are companies already that are selling in Canadian market, American market. So I think these are new opportunities for them to sell in this market. Okay, so just to give you some element about our students. So we are all the cluster manager from ELCA, Lucio Veneto, cluster Lumiere, CCAT, and BIC, that are the clusters, that are European clusters that are involved in this training. But for sure, all companies can enjoy especially on the recorded version of this lesson to have the information you give us today. So thank you very much to cluster managers. Thank you very much to all our teachers for today. I give them the floor for the presentation of these 2 about 2 hours of discussion and the new information about Canadian market. Thank you very much again to help us in this route to Canadian market.
Thank you, Alberto. So yes, so as we've seen in the previous session, we talked about many things, but one of the big subjects was to look at the different platforms available in Canada to look at the different tenders. And so now you know that there is a platform Canada Buys, which is at the federal level, and then you have a whole bunch of different platforms, which are at the provincial and municipal level. But as I mentioned as well, there is a platform named Merx that is trying or doing a good job at. I would let Kim and Kyle get on that. But who are trying to put together all those tenders under one platform only. And so because for a European company, I think it will be quite a challenge to follow all the tenders on all the different platforms. I think it was a very good idea for you to have a demo of what Merckx is offering and how the different companies can capture with one platform. And I don't know if it's 100%, but a very high percentage of all the tenders that are available in Canada in the public sector. So I will leave the floor to Kim and Kyle to introduce themselves, introduce MDF Commerce, and then give us a quick demo, well, not a quick demo, to give us a good demo about the Merckx platform. So Kim and Kyle, the floor is yours.
Sure.
Perfect.
I'm going to share my screen.
Yeah, please do.
Kyle, while you're talking here.
No, you're good. Yeah, so I think Yan did a good job of summarizing, the intent. So obviously, MDF Commerce is a public procure to pay system that offers both solutions on the buyer, the agency side of the procurement process, and then obviously the tender and the bid market on the supplier side. And we really specialize in awareness and visibility to ensure that it's an aggregate one-stop shop for suppliers to be able to go to have access to the bids, to ensure that you're not missing out on any opportunities, right? So what Kim and I are going to walk you through today is the Merckx platform. Obviously, that's our Canadian tender platform. Really drive some good dialogue. We'll talk about how existing customers utilize and best practices within that platform. We'll be happy to answer any questions, which we're hoping we get some good interactions so that we can answer and address any specific points you guys want to see or talk about. But really looking forward to exploring the opportunity to allow you guys to kind of entrench your roots in the Canadian tender market, and we'll show you the solution on how we can help you do that.
And
So,
Kyle,
shoot away. Yeah.
Kyle, if I may, and also please feel very free, because as you understand, the two previous hours were on the US market. So please very free also to let everybody know a little bit about what you're also doing in the US, how that platform can also capture some of those tenders. But also, I know that you also have on your platform some private tenders, and that also please feel free to address that as well.
You bet. Yeah, so I know the focus today primarily, Ann, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe that the main focus of today is the Canadian opportunity. But what Kim and I will also do is explore and give visibility to the MDF Commerce holistic view of our product suite. We do have a very proficient and direct opportunity in the US as well for bid tenders in the US as well. So we'll take this wherever you guys want it to go, obviously, in regards to the value that we can offer you. But I know Kim is going to take us through a demo of the Merckx platform, but we'll definitely kind of mix in the BidNet Direct opportunity with this, which is our US equivalent of the bid platform, to make sure you guys walk away with a holistic view of how we can offer good service to you guys.
Yeah, so I'll take over if that's all right. So I'm Kim. So I'm the director of marketing for all of MDF Commerce e-procurement. So that does cover all of North America. So Merckx on the Canadian market side, and have some contact information here since we're recording this. But if anyone has any questions after reviewing this and the recording, they can reach out to myself or Kyle, or our Merckx customer support team is open. So I did not put this into the European time zones. I apologize for that. However, 8 a.m. to 9 p.m. Eastern time. So primarily now, all of our buyers and the large majority of our suppliers are located in North America. So we're just going to do a quick overview of Merckx and MDF Commerce and features that help suppliers find business opportunities. An online demonstration, I say quick, but that's because it's a very simple platform. So it kind of basically depends on your questions, how deep you want to go. I am going to be in our live environment. And so I'll explain why I'm not going to do some things like download documents, because then buyers will see that, why is Kim on Merck's interested in this lighting street project that we have going on in the city of Ottawa? So I'll explain to you about all of those things as we go through, show you how simple it is to register and our different registration options for all the suppliers, and then talk about next steps. So we have some ideas that we could do as a partnership here to kind of spread this information and set up a landing page that talks about some stuff. So a little bit about MDF Commerce as a whole. MDF Commerce is a leader in the North American e-procurement, public e-procurement. So we have, we were founded in 1996, and we have over 700 employees and over 6,000 public sector customers. So those are actual cities, counties, provinces, states in the US, school districts, etc., that are actually logging into one of our platforms, either Merck's or BidNet Direct, on a daily basis to issue their solicitations. And throughout the country and in North America, we also have about 600,000 contractors or suppliers. So here is just a kind of show you where all of our buying organizations are. So these are those ones that are self-publishing. They're logging into the platform themselves. All the ones north of the border here in Canada, those are the ones we're going to be looking at and focused on today with Merck's. But as Kyle mentioned, we also have BidNet Direct that covers the United States as well. So we have strength in numbers, as I said, all those suppliers, buying organizations, it represents hundreds of billions of dollars a year in projects. Every year goes through our system. So our local, state, provincial, and some even federal agencies utilize our platforms to actually do business and to make the government run. Everything from our lights to our office supplies to setting up. I don't know if pickleball is made it over in in Europe yet, but pickleball is really big in the United States right now, and it's kind of creeping up into Canada. So you all may see it soon, or you may not. But kind of everything you can think of that the government buys is on our site, and so we have every type of supplier as well. And one of the great things about Merck specifically is it is bilingual. So everything is in French and in English. So any emails, when you register, you sign up to know if you want one of those two languages, and you sign up for that. We do not at this time have any other languages available, but Google and your browser and all that should make that doable. All of the tender documents should be in both, if they're self-published. If they're not, you may have to do some translation because it is up to the government agency themselves. All right, so a couple of quick little snapshots about Merck's and what it does to help bridge this procurement in Canada. It allows suppliers to search for relevant opportunities based on a region and industry for goods, services, and construction. I know I've talked a lot about our participating public buying organizations. Those are those ones that are logging in. We also, as Yana alluded to, do have some private. So most of our private companies are working on behalf of a government agency, not all of them, but most of them are somehow related to the government. So we have, for example, Defense Construction of Canada, which technically is not a public entity, but they have all of the contracts for the Defense Department of Canada. And so every contract that they have with the Defense of Canada, they actually are looking for so they're looking for, different equipment, different projects, different construction, lighting, etc., at all of the bases across Canada, and all of those go through Merck's. And also we have other architects, engineers that may be working with different cities, different school districts on things, and so those projects also go through Merck's. In addition to the buying organizations, so those public entities and private entities. We also have an entire team at Merck's that is dedicated to going out and finding other solicitations that aren't being self-published on Merck's. And so Yan kind of alluded to this earlier when he talked about a one shop, one place to go to find everything. And we've really made it easy for that, because if the buying organization is not self-publishing, then we are going out and finding those documents. And the CETA agreement, which I know you all are most likely familiar with, I'm not sure if that's what spawned this discussion about coming into North America. But as you know, the new site, Merck's is one of only 2 people in all of Canada to have an agreement that allows our self-publishing agencies to automatically have their solicitations not only issued and do all their bidding on Merck's because that's what they like, and they like the technology and they're used to it, but it also gets automatically sent so that it meets those CETA requirements over to the federal site. So that is one thing that we're happy about, that we can give that to our buying organizations. But all of their e-bid submissions, which is the ability to collect bid submissions online electronically, so that you all don't have to, suppliers don't have to send RFP documents across the Atlantic, or you don't have to ship things or to email large files, especially when you get into the construction arena. Those can be super big. So we do allow that e-bidding, which is great for our buyers as well as for suppliers. Makes it a lot easier. It saves a lot of time and money on both ends. So you can also find other businesses and like subcontractors to do business with on Merck's. So suppliers and networking here. So if you were trying to build up that relationship potentially with other prime contractors that are located different provinces in Canada, you can actually do that by looking at the document request list. It is available and gives a snapshot of the company. I'll show you when we get online, but also know that you may be reached out to by other primes or subs who are looking to partner with someone who works in your industry. And so this is an interesting networking opportunity for you all to make the decision when you download documents. Am I going to actually bid on this tender? Am I going to pass, or do I potentially want to partner with someone? And so it allows you to kind of expand that network of partners that you may want to use your products, but someone's services that are closer to where the tender is located.
And Kim, sorry to interrupt, but I think that part is very important. We've seen it through different discussions that partnering is probably a good strategy in many instances. So yes, that's something that is definitely big for the European companies to understand well.
Yeah, I think it's a great thing. When we get in, I'll show you what is seen. So there is not as much data seen by other suppliers or by you all as that's seen by our buying organizations. So when you do register on Merck's, the buying organizations can see everything. Your full, you can add your logo, you can add one-pagers, you can even add a little video in there about your products or services. You can add what contracts you have or anything about yourself, as well as any kind of paperwork, whether you have some kind of classification, certification, all kinds of things that a buying organization and that buyer can see. The suppliers really just see a snapshot of that. So they see your company name, your main contact of your sales organization, how they can reach you with your email address, your phone number, your URL of your website, and a few other key pieces of information. So I want to just kind of verify that we're working on some things at Merck's that may take that a step further to allow you to expand what you are willing and wanting to show to other suppliers to continue that partnership.
Kim,
Yeah,
Hey,
sure.
I think this, just to a little bit deeper, kind of looking at this, there's a lot of good stuff on here, but if you follow this sequentially, this actually is the value proposition of the Merx platform, and all of our different solutions is just that. Because, you know, Kim and I, we have over 500,000 suppliers in our supplier network, and we have a ton of these conversations, and it's all about value and ROI. And the reality becomes, these steps further down the road, like bidding and winning, selling to the government isn't easy, but you can't get to the bid and win opportunity if you don't know the opportunity is available, right? So having a flexible system that allows you guys confidence to, one, feel confident that you're going to have visibility to the opportunities, whether they're self-published or aggregate, is the first step. And then you can dive into, again, customize your profile. We have e-commerce or e-bid opportunities, allow it to be more of an electronic submission process to simplify it. But again, if you follow this sequentially, you can't win a bid that you don't know about. And so we really want to execute heavy on the front end to increase your confidence level that the Merx platform is going to be your one-stop shop to making sure the bids are in front of you.
Thanks, Kyle. Yeah, and I'm sorry because I'm really bad at following my own directions here. And so I skipped over some things, and I've been going back and forth on this of just what pops in my head. So one of the other things that real quickly to touch on, and again, I will show you this online, but that's fantastic, is historical and market research, right? So if the suppliers really, have only done business, let's say in Newfoundland, right? Because that's the closest on the Atlantic to Europe. And so they've done business there a little bit. They don't know what the Ottawa region or Quebec, the whole province of Quebec offers. And so you can actually go back in time and look at closed tenders and look at that information. You can look for that for not only suppliers, but also what are people buying? What is the average number of these opportunities that may come up per year in this specific region? What are some other terms and keywords of, okay, so I deal in streetlights, and I apologize because I don't know everything that your organization, all the types of suppliers that are out there. They deal in streetlights, but they've been really thinking about also getting into concrete that goes with those streetlights, or trash cans that are attached to streetlights out there, because that's been something that's popped up a lot in their market. They can actually start and do different historical and market research on those types of new products and or new regions to do business in. So another key just feature of finding, it's not just for open solicitations, what's available now to bid on. It's also research to know, is this a good place for me to get into the market? Is this something that I need to slightly look at older documents and see, is the Canadian market slightly different? Are the needs different? And so in order for me to actually bid and win, I'm going to have to change some things on my end if I want to make it into that market. So it's a really good tool kind of for every step, no matter which step you're at. If you're just at the, I want to see what's out there, or if I want to do research to see if this is a market I want to get into, or if I'm ready to take that leap and get into the Canadian market and do business with organizations there. Of course, winning, but that's the ultimate goal for most suppliers, is to grow their business, win more business, and Merx really helps you get there by all those things I just talked about. In some cases, you can actually look back at this historical data, and again, this is up to the buying organization whether they make this public on Merx or not, but you can actually see the value of the win in the past, or if you don't win. Oftentimes, if you've placed a bid and you don't win, oftentimes the buyers will put up a bid tabulation of all of those results and the ranking of those. So buyers on our platform can not only accept the bid responses, but they can also evaluate them on our platform. So they can evaluate and rank. And if they don't actually publish that, then you can the contact information for that buyer is on every solicitation. So after the closing date and the award has been made, you can actually request a debrief after that submission loss. And then we talked about a little bit about the profile there. We'll get into that a little bit more online. But MERX does have what they call working categories along with keywords. And so there's some little tweaks you can do, and you can find those working categories as well, so that you're not seeing everything, you're just seeing what you want to see available and open for bid. So any questions before I move on, just broadly about the market, about who we cover?
It's not a question, it's maybe more a comment, and maybe you will show us, but one of the things I find very difficult on the government side, especially on BICE Canada, is the search engine. I find it's terrible, and so I'd be very interested if you can maybe show how to use your search engine better to get what we're looking for, rather than a ton of information that are irrelevant.
Yes, 100%. So this is just a screenshot of our search engine. I'm going to take you into the site, I promise. I put these in here in case there are people who don't have 2 hours to spend watching this, and really you just want to send them a copy of this PowerPoint, which I'd be happy to share, so that they have screenshots, because I know some people may not want to. But as Jan mentioned about search, when we get in there, I'll show you how to enter the search, all of these filters here that you can define, and then you can save up to 50 searches and be alerted to those. So if you want to have one specific search that is just in one province for the keyword lighting installation, and you want to have another key search that is just by a specific organization like DCC, which is the Defense Construction Canada, I think I'm getting that right. Then and for everything, because you know that every defense project, unless it has the construction has to do with has lighting needs, and so you want to see everything from DCC, then you can set up another save search and get alerted of that as well. So I'll show you all of those little tools when we get online. Let's see. This is setting up your save searches. So again, show you this online, just some screenshots here. I'm going to spend a little bit more time, because this is one of the things I'm not going to do most likely when we get online, unless I can find something that I'm okay with downloading. But as I mentioned, when you download documents, that's how you're really going to find out what this project is. Yes.
Is it possible to search only open calls or also calls that are closed, and so to see also who win the tender and the list of winners? I don't know, the best practice, just to learn and to see what's the best solution was proposed for this tender.
Yes, so it is possible to search both open, or you can switch that search to closed solicitations or closed opportunities. We also have an awarded opportunities. However, again, that is really up to the buyer themselves of whether they want to make that information public on MERX and alert people of it. So I will show you how to go in there and see and do searches on those. But if you see anything that is closed, and it does not have award information, I'll show you kind of the best practice of how to get that information, because they should be able to send it to you. It is public information.
Thank you.
No problem. So when I will show you where you place where you actually do this, but you're going to download documents by pressing this little order. There are unlimited number of downloaded documents when you pick one of our annual or monthly packages on MERX, meaning that you can download those as many documents as you want, do as much research as you want on open or closed solicitations. And also there is also unlimited electronic bid submission with that. For those people who don't want to pay for that, we do offer a pay as you go, and you pay 60 Canadian dollars per document download. So if anyone is thinking about having, I think it's more than 5 document downloads throughout the year, our annual packages are a much better deal. So I'm just throwing that out there.
Sorry,
But-
Kim.
Yes.
Sorry, Kim. When you said $60 per document, but in your slide it says per solicitation. So if in a bid you have like 5 documents to download, you pay 5 times 60 or you pay 1 times 60?
1 times 60, and I apologize, that was a slip of my tongue. It is per document download, meaning all documents attached to that specific solicitation. Okay, so this is then kind of what you're going to see after you download that document. So as you can see here, here's just one RFP document, but if there was 10 of them, this would be included too, and it would have $0 here if you had the package, or it would have $60 here if you did not. And placing a bid, the same thing. It's very, very simple. You simply place a bid. If it's showing that it's available online, I'll show you hopefully one that is. Sometimes there are buying organizations that want to know if you're going to place a bid or you don't want to place a bid. So this is a bid intent. And they want to know, because you've downloaded documents, whether you want to place a bid or not. And so this is something that actually helps the buying organizations know. They may follow up with you to ask, like, why didn't you want to place a bid? Why are you not doing this? And it helps them learn too of research in the market. And you can say things like, well, it was confusing, I didn't know, or, well, it actually wasn't a good fit for me, or whatever. So that is something there. Our online electronic bid submission is really, really simple. You can either drag and drop or browse for your files. It takes you through step by step of what that buyer is looking for. So if they have specific questions, functional requirements, licenses that they're looking for, you simply upload them there and then press next. And then you go to the questions, and they may have some questions that are online. They may ask you to upload those answers. So that will all be on those documents based on their specifications and requirements. And then pricing, most do have pricing either in bulk or by line item, or potentially they just want you to upload your document with your full proposal that includes pricing in it. There are some buying orgs that don't do pricing. They just want to know what the best fit is, and they'll do pricing on the negotiations. There are other times in which it'll be what we call a double closed sealed envelope evaluation, in which still nothing changes on your side from the supplier. You'll still upload all this information, but on the buyer's side, they're not going to look at this pricing until they've picked their top 2 or their top 3 suppliers that they want to do business with. And they have those, they evaluate, they have talks with those, and then they open that pricing envelope to see if that makes a difference in their final decision. All right, so any questions? I'm going to cough and have a sip of water real quickly while I switch over the demo. So any questions while I go?
If your customers, your clients are more Canadian, or they are they live abroad. I mean, is it easy also for external user to use your platform?
I find it very easy to use our platform, and I am not Canadian. So I think it's good, but most of our buying orgs, in fact, all of our buying orgs are either Canadian governments or companies or businesses that do business in Canada and have a location in Canada. As far as the suppliers go, many of them are in Canada. We also have some in the United States, and we also do have some globally, Australia, the US, but most of them speak English or French at least well enough, because those are the two languages that our site's in.
And again, the Merck's platform too is this is our Canadian product. So that's why Kim was saying this specific instance of our technology is Canadian specific. It is easy to use for anybody that is able to work in the Canadian market. But we have the equivalent of Merck's called BidNet Direct, which is, again, US buying organizations and more domestic suppliers to the US. So it just really depends. But this Merck's platform, again, is heavily Canadian.
Thanks.
Yep. Yes, and if you want to, I mean, if we have time at the end, I will show you BidNet Direct as well, which is our US market. The biggest difference you're going to find in the US market is the volume, right? So in the Canadian market right now, we have 3,135 open tenders. So those are all the open solicitations that are going on right now. If I logged into the US right now, I don't know, I'm just guessing that would probably be 15, 20,000 or more. And it's just because it's just a much larger market in the US than it is in Canada. But the actual look and feel, you're going to notice Merck's and BidNet Direct is almost the same. So right here, this is our main search. So upon login, this is where you're going to end up. You're going to be able to see all solicitations, Canadian public tenders. You're going to be able to then go ahead and look at just agencies, crown and private corporations separately. And all of these kind of other filters here. So we talked about open. If I wanted to switch to closed solicitations, I could just simply go to closed there. All of these filters and the keyword search still work there. And then awarded is right here. So if I wanted to look at awarded solicitations, for example, I'm just going to take this. I know this has nothing to do with what you all do, but I just want to take this as an example. So this is one example of an award. I can look through and see the information here of who it was awarded to, Oracle, and the amount, $1,208,000. So I can see that information right there. Some of our buying organizations do award information differently. So let me see if I can just find another one. So this award information is set up. It's kind of the same thing, just, $37,000. Some will have award information as a document, so you can view the full document. Some will add their bid tabulation, so it just depends. So this is a great way to do searches for keywords. So if I wanted to say, lighting up here, and I wanted to look at supply and delivery of lamps and ballasts here, and I wanted to look at that award information that was awarded just a little bit ago, then I can scroll down here and I can see it was awarded for 51,000 Canadian dollars to commercial lighting. That's where they're located, and commercial lighting is located. If I wanted to look at that document request list here, we talked about this before, this commercial lighting, who was the winner, I can go back and I can find out more of their information here. So I can reach out to Paul, ask him questions. I can send Paul an email. Congratulations, so glad you did this. Do you also, are you looking to expand, because we offer XYZ for a partnership? So you can get all that information right here. And again, I'm hopping, so I apologize, but we had that question before. Yes.
Just a quick question. But you don't have a way to see the actual answer to the bid. So let's say there is some technical, because here we only see the pricing, right? But now sometimes it's price and technicality. The technicality, you don't have access to that, do you?
It is up to what they actually upload. They could upload the entire award. It doesn't look like any of the ones that I'm clicking on do. Like this one, even just undisclosed. They just say, hey, I'm not going to tell you what the awarded value is.
Okay, so that's what you were looking for before. Okay, sorry.
Yeah. So in the United States, I know, and I will have to verify, and maybe you know this, Jan, in Canada. In the United States, we have something called a FOIA request, in which everything is public information. And so if you, let's just say this one, right? Like there's the award information doesn't have the documents or any information as far as disclosed. I can look through the documents here by downloading this. And I can look through those documents and see what the requirements were to know if it's something that I want to pursue and know what the winner actually had. And then I can go to this buyer, which right here is at the University of Calgary, Michael Oring, and I can request, hey, I know that XYZ company won this bid. Can I please see the bid results to see why they won? Now, in the US, that is public information. They have to get that. They have to give that to you. I am not sure in Canada. What they can do in the US is retract a bunch of things. Like as a supplier, I have in my agreement with that buying org with the University of Calgary that, hey, listen, you can show them my pricing, you can show them the manufacturer of this, but I do not want this information because it's proprietary of how I install that and XYZ shown. And so you may get stuff that's retracted. So oftentimes the best way to really find out that information is to look through the documents and see what the requirements were. And then to reach out to that supplier too, to see if they're open and interested. You know, I'm looking at getting into the Canadian market. Are you open to getting into the European market? Let's work out a partnership and to build that relationship there with the supplier. Sometimes is the best way to do that. Again, I am not sure about the Canada. In the US, it's a legal requirement that they have to give you information if you request it, but what they give you can be marked out. And I wouldn't become a nag about it to the same buying org because it does take them time and resources to get you that information, which is why maybe in the US we have more of those documents and those bid tabulations actually published.
Yeah, okay. I don't know actually exactly if there is a legal obligation if you ask for it. I'm going to look into that because it's a very interesting point. So yeah, I will look into it.
Yeah, look into that. I'll look into it too. I should probably know that, but I just don't. So, excuse me, I apologize. On the search here, all of these other filters too, you can use. We have multiple category options. I'm going to be honest, these are kind of lame. However, you can easily see if you want to look at all construction, all services, goods, others. If you don't check anything off here, they're going to just show your search, anything you search for is going to look through all of them. The same with the GSIN categories, the UNSPSC categories. So these get a little bit more technical. If I want engineering, building, power generation, electrical systems and lighting, all of these different, these guys here, I can do that. This is the organization. So I can have a search specific to one entity. So I was talking about Defense Construction Canada here. I could check them off. Alberta Public Sector. I can view all, and this takes you to all, you can search through our list of 2,600 agencies.
So on this one, Kim, if you can reopen organization.
Sure.
So when it says, for example, City of Ottawa 6, it means it's 6 about lighting or it's 6 open at the moment?
6 about lighting, because that's what I have on there.
Yeah.
Yep. Location, you can do the same thing in Canada. Here, you can look just by a specific, so this organization is by the buying org itself. So that city, that province, that school district, that crown organization. The location, however, is throughout that entire province. So I could say I want everything in Ontario. Only I could say all of Canada with the exception of Ontario, so I can do all kinds of things there. Purchasing group. So this is, we have some of those they're all included here, but we do have some organizations that kind of want their own registration, their own, you still have access to all these, but they ask for slightly different things. So Manitoba, for example, their Manitoba tendering portal is open not only to Manitoba itself, but all local orgs within Manitoba. So if you want to look again specifically at everything DCC related or everything within the Manitoba, you can do that.
So do you have provinces in Canada that chose MERX as their sole platform? So if, for example, in Quebec, you have SEAO, which is for the province of Quebec, and you can then also find it on MERX, but do you have some provinces that are using MERX as the actual platform?
Yes, Newfoundland and Manitoba are currently. You can also filter by published date. So if I want to see anything that's either been published since I last logged in, or that was this is published within the last day, published, etc. This is really good when you want to look for those awarded and closed solicitations. Excuse me, to try to plan out for the future. So if you know in your industry that everybody replaces lighting every 3 years, you can look back in time 2.5 years ago for that information of, based on your search terms, based on different categories, any of this information in the closed or awarded, and you can see what was awarded, 2.5 years ago to 3 years ago. So you can start prepping for what's coming potentially out for a new tender in the upcoming months. So what I like to tell our suppliers is to really play around with all this and see what you can do and use it as not only a market research tool, but a forecasting tool for your business in going back in time because you know your market best. You can also have a closing date if you know that I am so swamped and busy over the next month. I may miss an opportunity, but that's just is what it is. I can't look at anything with a closing date until January 20th. Then you can do that. You want to look at just things that are closing, starting or ending at a specific time. Solicitation type. So this is different types of proposals. So a request for proposal, a notice of proposed procurement. So that's a little less formal. A request for information, so they're not actually saying, hey, here's my, I want your bid, I want your information. They're just saying, hey, I want your information. I'm not ready to make a bid yet, or to make a formal proposal yet. I'm looking for information to help me build that proposal. There's also advanced procurement notices. So, hey, just an FYI, I'm throwing this out there. In March of 2023, I will be having a large lighting project because we are redoing all the tunnel in Longueuil to Montreal. I'm not even sure if that's, I don't think it goes from Longueuil to Montreal, but those are I know there's a big tunnel project going on right now in Montreal. And so, yes, I was up there. And it was, I think they were starting the next day to close the tunnel. And my Uber driver was saying how lucky I was to not have to deal with the mess that was going to be the next day. We also have general requirements. So if you want to look at something where, insurance is required, the certification and training is required, there's a bidder pre-qualification. If you want to look at all these things, you can. This keywords down here, this is the excluded keywords. So up here, I have the word lighting. If I wanted to exclude then anything that said, I don't know, filament. I apologize here with my lack of knowing your industry. But if I wanted to have everything that had lighting but excluded the word filament because I don't do any filament refills for lights, then I could do that. So once I have my search all done, I can actually save this search. So I can save this search. I can create a new save search. So I can call it lighting, no filament. I can set it as my default that I want to log in and see this. I can also set it to get notified of opportunities. So what this is going to do is this is going to send me every day an email with any new opportunities that match any of my filters on this save search. So this is a really, sorry, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, I do understand from what you showed that you can have multiple saved search, correct?
Yes, up to 50. So you can have up to 50. So you can, the save search is here. So you can look, I have just this many here. I can decide if I want notifications for some of them. I don't want notifications for others. So you can do all of that here. And yes, you can have up to 50 of these.
I think it's really important too, because I know this seems really simplistic, but this is probably one of the most, from a supplier and a user experience, the number one factor in these types of notification platforms is tender relevancy, right? How relevant are these opportunities to the work that I do? Because to Jan's point at the very beginning, there is so many opportunities, there is so much content that if you don't spend time really utilizing these different filters and honing in, you're going to get overwhelmed with a significant amount of content that may or may not be relevant to what you are doing. And you spend a lot of time kind of searching and going through those. So utilizing these different filters and then refining once you start getting accustomed to what you're seeing, it's an ongoing process. What you put in is what you get out. So you want to continually work with these different filters and settings and UNSPSC codes and exclude keywords and things of that nature till you get to a point where you're really honing in and feeling confident that the system is delivering what you were expecting to see. So I just wanted to, because that is the number one piece.
Yeah. And that's what we were talking about in a previous discussion, is that when you're in Europe and you're looking at the Canadian market as one of many markets, you want to have that type of automation, because if you're based, we had a testimony a few weeks ago of someone who's based in Quebec and is looking at opportunities in Quebec. Well, it's part of your job every morning to open the platform. Now, if you're based in Europe and you're the export manager and you're looking at 10 different markets, well, you can't afford to go every morning and check the platform. You want to have something automated. And so that automatization is going to be a key in your way you follow that business potential.
Yeah, 100%. And once you do, let's just say this is set up and you will get an alert of this. So this alert, when you get this is what you're going to be taken to in your email. So you may have a list of 10, 20, I don't know how many it will be, but you actually will be taken direct to the solicitation. So I'm trying to find one with a e-bidding here on it, and let's see if this one has it. No, it doesn't. Sorry about this. I should have looked for one before. Let me try this guy. All right. So this one, does have it. So this, let's just say you got alerted to this upgrade of KHS HMI light system with LED lights. And so this, when you followed your link from your email, would take you right here. You may have to log in first, but this is the most important thing. This is set up upon your registration. You'll put in your time zone. And so if you put in your time zone, even if it's, whether you're in Germany or in the UK, or anywhere in between, it doesn't matter. This will be based on your time zone that you entered. And so you'll always know how many hours and minutes everything is that you need to know to submit your bid before. The most important thing is obviously don't wait until the last minute. I always tell people to give themselves at least a day and place the bid at least a day before. But that is up to you. Just don't wait until there's 5 minutes left, because if you have technical issues or something happens, then won't be able to submit the response. So anyways, I just want to point this out. This is based on your time zone, not necessarily the location's time zone. So it's based on what you plugged in upon registering. This information here is what we call a notice. It's just super basic information of who issued the solicitation. So this one is for Transport Canada, what type of solicitation it is, the title, the agreement types. So this is part of the World Trade Organization agreement on government procurement, as well as North American Free Trade Agreement, the delivery point of the location. Are questions available, submitted online? No. When is it closing? And then for more information, so if the documents and other information doesn't give you everything you need, you can always reach out to the buyer here. It also talks about the bid submission process. So there's 3 different things you may see here. You'll either see electronic bid submission, or you'll see physical bid submission, or you may see both electronic or physical. So physical bid submission basically means it's outside of the system. It's outside of MERX itself. So how to submit your bid will be located in the documents themselves. If it is electronic bid submission, it'll also talk about the pricing. So this is a lump sum. They're just looking for one sum for this entire project. They don't want everything lined out by different goods or services. And this is where you would place a bid online. So this is that electronic bid submission. The categories, this you can just see, what are the categories here? What have they actually selected to see if, well, geez, why didn't I get alerted of this? Well, I never even thought to put in scientific instruments or instruments and laboratory equipment. Maybe I should, because buyers are selecting those for lights. And so that's what I can do. These are those documents. So again,
sorry, Kim.
Yes.
Can you go back on the previous page?
Sure.
I think that's very interesting, that part, because as you mentioned, sometimes it's a little bit difficult, especially in lighting, because it's such a large subject to find which category it applies. Are you able to see in awarded contracts those categories as well? I don't think if we did, because I think if you're able to see it in awarded, then it gives you ideas of things in the past that was of interest to you and add it to your search.
Yes, everything that you can see in the open is carried over into the closed and awarded. The only things that are different is this doesn't allow you to bid. It says closed, and it has an awarded tab. Yep. So yes, you can see the same exact things. And I think it's a great point. It goes back to that doing market research and seeing what's there and using that research to set up your own profile to know what you should be looking at. And
how have you defined at MERX your category versus GSIN categories, for example? Why creating that second category and not just keep with the existing ones?
So the real answer is that we didn't do the behind the scenes mapping And over the years, there's been different buying organizations that have used different things. And so now we kind of offer everything. The same is true on the US side in BidNet Direct. So on BidNet Direct, we do have also what's called NIGP codes, and we have what's called NAICS codes. However, in the US, we learned from giving all these options and having some of them very confusing on Mercs. And we have simply merged those two in the back end so that it's not as confusing, right? So that everybody, if a buyer is used to typing in NAICS, fantastic, they can do that. But coming out to a supplier, they won't know the difference whether it's NAICS versus an IGP. On Mercs, we just haven't taken that next step yet to do that, but that's the reason, is because different buyers were using different things. So over the years, we've added those different category systems based on the buyer's needs, and allowed the suppliers to choose from them, to filter from them. However, the majority of our suppliers really are looking at doing the keyword searches, right? And getting notified of those. And they're not selecting that it has to be in this category, it has to do this. I just want something with this keyword. So that's what the majority of our suppliers have been doing. But the buying org side, it's still important for them to categorize.
That would that be your recommendation, Tim, as a user, as a supplier user? It's to focus more on the word than on the category?
Yes, that would be
I think,
on Mercs 100%.
Okay.
I think the value, really to kind of summarize it too, Jan, I think the value here is we want to make sure we have, some people are very familiar with classification codes, and so we want to give them that flexibility. Some people are not as familiar, and so we want to give each individual user the experience that works best for them. And we do find that when you start getting granular, the keyword search really helps the supplier ensure the relevancy of what they're seeing is more specific to what they want to see, but they aren't required to do it, right? So it just kind of gives that flexibility to the user.
Okay, thank you.
All right, and I apologize here. I have that I am presenting, but can you do me a favor, Kyle? Can you message Dan Albert and just let him know that I'm presenting in a demonstration? Thanks.
Yep.
So yes, so these are where all the tabs are, those documents, the document request list, the audit. I'm going to show you something. So I'm logged in with as a supplier that has selected our annual package, but only for one province. And this is outside of that province region. So I don't have Quebec in what I'm logged in on. So when I try to go download documents, it's not going to let me. When I try to go to look at the document request list, it's not going to let me. So what it's going to do is it's going to want me to now upgrade to a national or to a regional package. So just letting you know, on Mercs, we do have the ability, the best value 100% is that nationwide package. I believe it's 900. I have it on a slide, but I believe it's 900 Canadian per year. And that allows you access to be able to download all documents, see all document request lists, unlimited placing bids, etc., for every region and province, etc. But we do have some suppliers that only deal in Quebec, or they only deal in one specific province. And so if they're doing searches and they go outside of that province and they find something they're interested in, they do have to upgrade and pay because it's outside of what they've already ordered. And then you're going to see this audit tab here, not too exciting on this one, but on closed solicitations, you'll see when it was originally published, you'll see any addendum or amendments attached to that solicitation and when they were published, and you'll see the closing date and awarded date. So all of that is audited and tracked. So you'll see all of that here.
Can you go back on notice, please, one second?
Sure.
Okay, so here in notice, you can see in agreement types. So this one is still open. Okay. And it's, but so you say NAFTA, WTO. Is there a way in your system to select only bids that are open to CETA?
At this time, no, we are working on that. However, anything should be open to CETA, if I
Yes.
understand. If I
And
understand,
yes,
everything
yes,
should be. There's just some that are specifically going to be sent from Merck's over to Canada buys, that are part of that CETA that are over, that depends on the industry, but it's like over 900,000 or over 2 million.
no, and you're right. Any public tender in Canada of any type is technically open to CETA. But what we've seen also is that some of those tenders, they require local content. Some of those tenders require that it's reserved for indigenous. There is different criteria, but we kind of came up to the conclusion as well is that, you know, when there is some additional barrier, it's probably going to be difficult and probably going to waste a bit of your time and resource trying to answer those standards, even if so technically European companies are eligible. So sometimes if it's clearly stated that it's part of CETA, it can make it a bit easier and it can help you to make some arbitrage between the one you want to answer to or not. So that's why I'm asking that question.
Yeah, so all of this information here is actually issued by the agency themselves. So they select what agreement types that this solicitation is part of. So I think it might be worthwhile for us in our relationship with the buyers to maybe do some training for them too on how suppliers feel about knowing about the CETA agreement and having them add that to their agreement types here and list. So I can definitely take that feedback and we can work on potential articles and webinars and training for our own buyers. So, you know, from this organ, you know, Transport Canada and others, of why putting something like CETA is important there so that suppliers know that it's part of this and that they're considering it.
I think that when they put WTO, it's probably by default to give access to any other agreement. But yeah, maybe that's just something will be interesting to clarify.
Yeah, it can definitely clarify. I really think it's information and training. I really do, since CETA is fairly new. Although you know, the Canadian government on the federal level has done a good job with its buying organizations. On the provincial level, they've left it up to every province to make certain that they let all their locals know that it's going on. So it's, for example, Newfoundland did a great job at letting everybody know that CETA. We actually helped them and put together a complete page of, you know, frequently asked questions from the buying org and how is Merck's helping you, etc. But not because it was left up to the provinces. Some different levels of organizations, which Transport Canada, I don't really know why they don't know, but they may have just kind of left it out. So I do think it boils down to more education since it's fairly new to market. So it's been in discussions for a long time, but it's only been live and part of the standards for the past couple of months.
Yeah, okay.
But yeah, we can do that for sure. So this is it. This is the bulk of everything that you'll have access to. The other things here is your bid management. This is great. It keeps a record of all of your electronically submitted bid responses through Merck's. So you can go back in time and look up stuff next year that you did this year. This qualifications is pretty important here. If there's any buyers that you have access to that offer a qualification program in order to do business with them, you can apply for that qualification here. You can see what it is to see if you even meet the qualifications to apply for it. Performance management, you're probably not going to have much on here unless you already have a contract and that buyer is using performance management. And then this may show up because your contract is being, your supplier relationship with that buyer is being managed. In the report section, there's a nice dashboard. You can see, again, all of your ordered documents, those downloaded documents, and management reports. So these ordered documents is, again, a really nice thing so that you can see and start kind of, it houses it as a repository for all of those documents that you've downloaded. So that if you don't have time, you downloaded, you decided to not respond to a solicitation, or you're just downloading some documents, doing research on past closed and awarded opportunities, then you can come back and they'll be saved and you can still search for, I don't know if I have anything in here to show. I do. So I can still search for solicitation number. I can search for the title. I can search for my order date. So if I know that it happened, when I downloaded this one solicitation that I can't remember the name, it happened sometime, October through December of this year, I can do those searches here. So that's really kind of the core of it, with the exception of your profile, which happens upon registration, but then you can come in and change it at any time. If your language, this is how you would change your language to French, with just a little drop down there. This little guy up here is where you're going to see my profile. If you think of my profile as yourself, so this is your username, your password, your language, your time zone. And this is my organization, which is based on your company. So this is all information that you will fill out upon registering. And this is all the information that the buying organizations can see about your company. At any point in time, you can go in and edit this. So if you said, you know what, I didn't know that it was really important to them that I was a women-owned company or a minority-owned company, you can put that. Just make sure you press save every time here. Oh, and that was lovely because I probably didn't actually change anything. Sorry about that. This down here is where you're going to put in your advertising information. For anyone who has our annual or monthly packages, they can update their logo. They can have products and services both in English and French. For all those buyers, they can add promotional materials. It's up to 3 PDF documents and 1 video. So you can add all that information. And again, this is what buying organizations can see. The suppliers for those networkings will only see this information kind of right here. And then this is, the contacts. If you want to add contacts to your account for different people within your organization, you can even add contacts for short term. So if I will, have someone who is just on right now, I can add that contact and select, if they want a free, if I want them to have local, I can select what type of package type I want that contact to have.
So what you're saying, Kim, is that the price you're paying is, it's not a price for the organization, it's per user?
Yeah, it's per user. Yep. Now, what you could do, and what some of our companies do, is they have one person that downloads all the documents, that has the fully paid account, and everybody else can have search accounts, but they can't see certain things, or someone who's just specifically in one region, etc. But yes, it is a per user on Merx.
And where it really comes into play on that, Yan, too, is we find that, for example, even representative sales reps, for example, within the same company have different territories. And so they wouldn't want to utilize the same account. They prefer to have it separate, even though they're in the same company. So that's why the per user basis is, because this is usually a sales tool and it's territory specific. So we find the user model works more effectively.
Yeah, so this is our pricing here. Let's just say this all of Canada. So with tax, because this person is the account that I'm logged in is based in Quebec, it comes to $1,084.80. However, mostly I think that there won't be tax for you all, so it'd be $960 for the year. But again, if you want to just do local, like one province, or regional, one region, then the pricing would change and you could see that there. Sure.
Yeah, since we're talking about pricing, when we first talked, and that was with Bert, one of the things we had discussed was maybe if it's possible for you, but maybe what could be interesting is if you have a coupon type of format for all the Extra Light members, which will give two things. First of all, for them an immediate benefit on getting a little bit of a discount on that solution. But what we are thinking as well is that for you, it's also interesting because you'll be able to see and monitor who's coming from that project, and the benefit for you. So maybe that's something that, if it's a possibility for you, that we can look into.
It's actually something Kim and I were talking about yesterday too, Yan, that we wanted to make sure we had a more formal discussion with you post presentation to figure out what would be the best opportunity for us to track and manage, but also again accommodate a more cost-effective approach to getting the Extra Light users and suppliers on the platform. We can do a coupon. We can also do a landing page where Kim drives all the existing users within your network to a landing page, so it's a very specific and unique path they go through, which could also incorporate a coupon. So there's a lot of different things we can do, but that was already part of the planning. I just figured you and I would sync up after this discussion.
Yeah.
What that would look like.
I will let the Italian take care of the negotiation.
Sounds good.
And the rest is really just, finances, services, and this vendor score, again, is only going to show up if you are a part of your contracted supplier of an agency who's also using vendor performance management on Mercs. So kind of all stars have to align for that vendor score to show up. As I said, our buyers who are using us for their full source to contract. And so oftentimes that even expands a little bit beyond the contract and into that performance of that supplier, so that they know, am I going to use this supplier again? Am I going to do things with them? So on the buyer side, that's how that ties in. Is there anything else you want me to go back on before I hop out of the demo here? Anything you want me to go over again?
So yes, I think what will be good is that search. Maybe I don't know if Antonella, Alberto, Mary, Stefan, if you have some ideas, but I think it would be interesting to have some example from your end on some keyword that you think would be interesting, and just review that one more time, because since it's recorded, I think for the different SMEs, it's interesting to see how to set it up properly, because it's the key for everything.
Yes, for sure. Yeah, if someone wants to give me a keyword that they think would be good to look at.
I I have two questions, Kim. So the second one is the keywords I going to give you. First one was just before on the cost for the annual fee for to access the platform, because we are acting as clusters. So our ideal goal is to, in case I have a contract as in this case talking about ELCA, this is the European Lighting Cluster Alliance, to share to our internal board the opportunities for the tenders. So is it possible for us to a contract like Lucian Bennett or ELCA to share opportunities? Because we are a role of filter to our companies and to collect the group they take part in tenders. Okay, so we acting like a big companies that is proposing tender opportunities in Canadian market.
If I understand what you're asking, like for you all to just have one membership and then act on behalf of all of your members, is that what you're asking?
Yeah, exactly.
So the bad piece about that is then for any of your members to respond to solicitations, they're going to show up as ELCA, not their agency or not their lighting of New Schwanstein, or, whatever the company, right? And they're not going to have their contact information there. Even as a separate user, they could have their contact information, but it's going to be under ELCA. And so they're not going to have that same experience with the networking. They're not going to have all those different same experiences. Now that there's something we could do on the back end, like we were talking about with Kyle and Jan, to kind of, arch over anyone who's part of ELCA can have a discount or can have this ABC who registers through this path. We can do something like that, but I would personally not suggest doing something like that, only because then when they're responding and submitting bids, it's not showing up as them, so they're not going to be able to do that. When they're trying to network and downloading documents, people aren't going to know who they are. It just kind of turns into a mess. And 9 times out of 10, what will happen is someone on our support team will get a phone call from a buyer or a supplier complaining that this person is not who they say they are, and then we're going to have to get involved.
But I think, Kim, there is probably 2 levels to it. The first level will be for those clusters in their mission to help their members to, identify, okay, there is that bid that can be interesting for XYZ members. But then there is no question that XYZ members need to become a user if they have any plan to answer. So it's more like a first level, because the mission of the cluster is to support and say, oh, guys, we've identified those 2-3 bids for you. Now, if you want to answer, is the process to become a user of Merck's. And then they would have to go register, take their own thing. But at least it's more to give, I think, and Alberto, correct me if I'm wrong, but it's to create that traction, because that's how it's going to work, is that the cluster are going to bring some value to the members, saying, hey, I've identified a few leads for you on the market. So if you're interested, look into it. And if you want to answer, well, you just have to register and get your membership. So that's more how I see it.
Well, on Merck's, we cannot allow the distribution of the documents outside of Merck. So that is against our user agreement. So the solicitation title, the link to the solicitation, that's fine. ELCA has identified these. However, any documents cannot be shared, because our buying organizations use that for their own internal tracking. It's against our user, and then that person is not on the downloaded documents list. And so when they're not on a downloaded documents list and they do respond to a bid, they're going to get a big error message that says, you haven't downloaded any of these documents. Why? What, you can't respond without reading the bid submission yet. And so you can do that from a link perspective of, here's a link, you know, here's this video surveillance installation, the title, the link to the solicitation that Elka has vetted. But as far as sharing any other information, and especially documents related to that, that would be against our user agreement, both with our buying organizations and our suppliers.
Very clear. Okay. But I mean, it doesn't prevent Elka to go to the link, upload the document, look into it and say, oh, okay, that bid will be very good for XYZ members, and then tell XYZ member, hey, look, here is a link, you should have a look at it, and
Yes.
not share the document, but do all the screening work that lead to the member to go and do their job. But at least they can probably, you know, qualify all those and then distribute the link to the best people.
Yes, 100% that can happen.
I think the nice thing too is that, you know, when we're talking about the clusters, that this isn't a one size fits all system, right? The whole beauty of the way we've set this up is it's for each individual cluster and or company or organization to figure out how to utilize the tool within the confines of the structure that works best and also meets the needs of our user agreement. But it's not something you have to determine necessarily upfront, right? So you can go through and determine, okay, now we're using the system, we're getting the tenders, we're seeing what needs to happen. Okay, maybe we don't need 15 additional user licenses, but it makes sense for us to have 2 or 3 to meet X, Y, and Z needs. You can determine that as you go, and we've made it very simple for that process to take place, but you don't have to necessarily figure everything out up front. So hopefully that makes the user and corporation experience and cluster experience much better, you know, as you guys become more accustomed to using it.
Yeah. And I think another thing to note is I know it's on the top of everybody's mind because you want more business. I get that 100% for those open solicitations and what is out there for me to bid on. However, I don't want to lose sight of what I think is super important for your members also is to learn how to do the market research to decide for themselves if this is a market that I want to get into, if this is something that's worth my time. And so if this is something that I need to change the way I do my business in order to do business in North America. And so I do think that those research tools, looking through closed solicitations, awarded solicitations, setting up those keywords alerts are really important, even if the company never ends up bidding on something, right? It's almost, think of it as a, you know, an investment in knowing what I should or shouldn't do for my organization and what my options are.
Yeah, and I agree 100% with what you said. But my only maybe add to that is because it's kind of a new program and the idea is to capture the business potential. There could be a step 1 where the cluster does it, and then it will be part of the recommendation to do it yourself. And agreed, there is a lot of value in going, and we actually made a session, part of the session about that. There is a ton of value in going back to awarded contracts and to understand how it was awarded, to whom, at what price, and so on. So yes, that's definitely a big part of the learning curve.
I will add to that too, real quick, Yan. I mean, part of the investment too, obviously, when you join, you know, the Mercs or the MDF family, is you're also investing in our thought leadership, right? You're not, this isn't a, hey, figure this out on your own. This is a, we're here to help you, especially since this is new, right? We're going to have a lot of questions. There's going to be a lot of interaction. We have dedicated experts, including Kim and myself, that are always willing to lend a helping hand in any way we can. So it's an ongoing long-term relationship that we want to establish. This isn't just a, hey, thanks for signing up. Hopefully you guys have success and figure it out type situation. It's everything but that.
Does it answer your question, Alberto?
Okay, so second point is the keyword. So
Yes.
as we are big manufacturer of chandeliers, especially Murano chandeliers, we try chandeliers.
Okay, is that how I spell chandelier?
Yeah.
Okay, okay, let's see. Okay, so
Okay.
there are no chandeliers.
No need for.
No, but there are some chandeliers in closed solicitations. So this is, you know, the what's closed here. Let's see. If
Union
this,
Station, Great Old Chandelier,
Yeah.
okay, is for us.
yeah, oh goodness gracious, I timed out. Ah, lovely. So because I was not moving around here, let's change this. I apologize. So let me just do my searches real quickly.
Will say too, you know, we do a lot of these demos, right? And so we're always taking keywords and we're plugging them in, and you know, nothing pulls up, and everyone's like, oh man, there's no bids for chandeliers. But the reality is again, depending upon the specification of what you're looking for, there may not be a lot of bids or tenders that go out specific for a chandelier, which also ensures that when they do come out, you surely don't want to miss them. So that's where, you know, safe opportunities and things like that will really help if it's a niche market or niche product or something of that nature.
So, and the chandeliers, just so I know that what we're talking about here, are we talking about the big, beautiful lights
Yeah,
with all the
exactly.
crystals?
Exactly.
Yes.
Exactly.
Yeah. I wouldn't think outside of some train stations maybe, and some big government buildings that there would be chandelier, and I'm just speaking in the title or in the document. I think it would be more in lighting, because or
It was
some
one,
other word.
Can you try again? Because I think there was one for the train station.
There was, but for some reason, oops, if I can spell it right. For some reason, my computer is kicking me out whenever I do that. So I'm gonna have to look and see why that is. So yeah, there was this one here, but
It's
when
very expensive. It is very expensive, you know, so.
yeah, so the last 2 times I've clicked on it, it's kicked me out. So something may have, I think this just keeps happening with
Okay.
that. So this guy may not have access timing me out. So I apologize, but there is stuff there. There's a few things, but not a whole lot. So this is going back to 2016, 2018, etc. So with the word chandelier.
I will try another one. So we try spotlight.
Okay. So here's video gear and studio equipment, washrooms, display signage, spotlight support and maintenance renewal.
Alberto, this is a really perfect example to show
Yeah.
the complexity of when you use, for example, a very general term like spotlight, there's
Okay.
which is awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I just, my personal experience is there's probably a lot of these where you're going, yeah, but that's not, nah, I don't do that. Or that's where, again, that exclude, now you can go to the next layer of granularity so that within Spotlight, you can tell the system, okay, even within Spotlight, I only want to see these types of bids or tenders, or more specifically, I don't want to see tenders that have X, Y, and Z.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, this is only the first layer, then you can dive even further to really hone in on it.
Okay. I would try just LED lighting, LED lighting.
Oops, let me take out that little category there. All right, so here's LED lighting. So here's Aurora Charter Schools LED light replacement, LED lighting upgrades from the District of Summerlin buildings, Trent University. So there's a bunch of them there. I am in closed solicitations, by the way, here. I can go to open as well. And when I do that, it keeps my search term in there. So I just went from looking at closed to right now looking at open. So for fire station, for Centennial College. So upgrades to another college, Toronto Catholic School District Board, The Department of National Defense, the lighting system at PMG Technologies, Ontario First Technical Services, Toronto Parking. So that's what's open right now for that. And then so if we wanted to go into them, then I would just, click on one of them. And then I could look and see at all those details. And I could go and download the documents and look at who else, again, look and see if anyone, I'm looking for electrical companies to make these networking with, I have the product. I need a good network of electrical companies that either have private or public contracts that they could use my products with. I'm going to call Beckett. Or I'm going to download all these different requirements and see what's going on here. This is where you would do that.
Okay.
Okay, so my keyword is connected lighting, maybe.
Let's see if that worked. Oh, sorry. User error over here. All right, so nothing there, but I think I need to do my little connected and lighting like I had before. So this one I think is going to need a little bit more filtration here. Again, I think if we just put in lighting and then can figure out a different way to get there, we may have better results, because what the system does with connected is, unless that's one word or specific, I guess I could put it in quotes. I think I can do that. Put it in quotes like this, then those two terms together aren't bringing anything up. So I think this is, again, another one of those, like Kyle mentioned, that might be better to play around with and see exactly what the terms are and where that's showing up as far as the connected lighting, or if there's a specific code there for it. So I don't know if this is Ajax, cricket field that has all the lighting in that. So I'm not sure if that's connected lighting or not. However, the connected lighting aspect doesn't seem to be pulling stuff up here. I could play around with it or get one of our support team members who's more of a able to walk through and works with our suppliers all the time. I could ask them some suggestions there, or you could log in and do some searches and kind of search around for some of those keywords that you could give suggestions to your users for. But I think it's best if you start a little broad and then filter down, right? Say, I don't want things like this, so I'm going to exclude this types of categories. I don't want things like this, so I'm going to add in this negative keyword or add this other keyword. And our support team, we have members, that are there from, I think I said 8 a.m. to 9 p.m. Eastern. They're there to walk people through, and that's what they're there for, is to really help them set up those keyword searches, set up their profile in the right way. Unfortunately, that's just not me, so I apologize.
Yeah,
Kim,
thank you.
I-
Thank you anyway. Thank you very much.
Kim, can you go back in that keywords tab on the left?
Into this negative keywords?
Yes, because I think that's very important, and you went fast before. So what is it? You have to type. Can you redo it, like to exclude something? So let's say we want to exclude spotlight in the lightning. Okay.
Let's say I also want to include cleaning or construction.
Well, if you exclude spotlight, yeah, and Alberto's not going to be very happy with you. So we're gonna have to We're gonna have to work on that.
Yeah, so that then changes thing and brings up anyone that has this, I apply that, there, and now it changes it. Or it should. I don't know what's going on with my account
Because
here.
before, when you did that, there was a word and now it says no.
Yeah. Yeah, for some reason, my stuff is going wonky here, Jan, and it's not allowing me to apply that. And I don't know, I think it's my browser. So let me try it again.
Just normal when you do a demo.
Of course, all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't tell. I didn't actually see here if that cleared it.
I think the one of the things to point out with keywords too is the keyword is a specific match to the bid title and or the bid description. And that's really just a simple match to however the agencies have wrote in the bid, right? So just I want to go back to the connected lighting. Doesn't mean there's not bids in there for connected lighting. It just means that connected and lighting together don't match one-to-one on the way the agencies wrote the bid. So we might have to get a little bit more creative using the filters and other things to find them, but don't get discouraged that they're not in there. It just means that they don't match exclusively the bid title or description based on the agency's proposal.
And that's where the categories can be
Correct.
useful.
Yeah, so basically the system kind of kicked me out there. Sorry. Now let's see if this will work.
So that's what I was saying earlier, Jan, is again, the more you use the tool and understand how to use all the things combined, the better you're going to be with the results, because if you only rely on keywords, you might miss out. If you only rely on filters, you might miss out. But if you're using them interchangeably and know how to utilize them to really hone in that filter, you're going to get the best results. So again, it's truly a what you put in is what you get out type system.
Yeah, and that's where the role of the cluster could be interesting, because if they play with it, they can share with their members. They can do the work once and then share best practice with all their members, saying, okay, if you guys are in connected lightning, that's what you should put in, that's the category you should choose, and now you can go and register.
And that's why we want to have like a train the trainer type model, Jan, where it's, we train one or two subject matter experts in the organization so that there's a couple of go-tos within that cluster, and they don't necessarily have to rely on, support or things of that nature. We're here if they want to, but obviously it makes a better experience if there's subject matter experts inside the organization and cluster as well.
All right, well, I know we only have a few more minutes, so I think the next step is kind of talking about the next step of what that's going to be. I was prepared to show how to register, but if we want to talk about doing something different for the users, if we want to talk about something there, then I won't show that unless you think it's relevant and that I should show those options right now.
Yeah, I think it's very important how to register.
Okay.
And we can have that other discussion of another point. That's fine.
Okay, perfect. So as we mentioned, that the pricing is right here. It's located online, front and center, mercs.com. And it talks about what the pricing is. So there's the free or you pay as you go when you download a solicitation, look at a list. Really would suggest national, regional, or local, because it's just a much better deal. If you're planning on looking at one, more than one solicitation, it just works out better. So you simply select what option you want here. So if I wanted to do local, I would just select a province. If I wanted to do regional, I would select which region, or if I wanted to do all of Canada. And then it's going to show me my order details there of the pricing that it's going to be. And I would just save and continue this, put in all my personal information and my payment information here. And then it shoots me an email. And so I'm not going to go through that right this second and enter in all that information. I'm going to plop over back to our lovely PowerPoint and share with you, what I selected, what to do. You're going to receive an email that says, hey, here's your link to finalize your registration. You simply click on this. This is verifying that it really is you, verifying your email address. If you don't get this, 100% call us. We would, we can walk you through, we can resend it, we can help you through that. Our support team can. Or if you're having problems once you do get it and you need help, the phone number is right up on the top of the email. You log in upon after clicking on that guy. Whew, that was weird. Sorry about that. I don't know what happened. Okay, so you log in after clicking on that, and then it's going to take you to setting up that organization profile. So that's what we looked at, that all the buying organizations can see all your information. This is where you want to fill out your address, your phone number. You want to pick those category codes if you'd like to. And then that's it. You're done. You can start looking for solicitations right then and there. And then this is just, kind of one of our next steps, which we'll take offline, Yan, but just, if we wanted to set up some kind of landing page there, doing something similar to that. Any questions?
I think for me, it's pretty clear.
Okay. And I apologize. I knew lighting, but I didn't know any keywords, or else I would have had a few other saved searches set up for us. But you guys getting in there, it's very simple to add filters, make adjustments, look for different keywords, and then also look at what those category types things are, and download those documents and see maybe there is some kind of different government agencies are looking for something different and calling a chandelier something different, like a lighting structure or a hanging light or something in Canada versus other places.
And part of the work that needs to be done, it's always the same thing, is also understand the language or the verbatim used in the country you're targeting, because something that you call chandelier, as you said in Italy, is maybe called, as you mentioned, lightning structure in Canada. So you also need to do that little research to make sure you understand.
Yes, for sure. Well, if there's no other questions, I'll just throw this back up here. I mean, our support team is phenomenal. They know a whole lot because they talk to suppliers all day long. So they probably can tell you some good lighting installers, and it can find them for you if you need to start building those relationships, or can tell you what other keywords and search terms that suppliers like you all have set up, because they talk to people all day long about these types of things from all different industries. So I'm making no promises about lighting. However, they will have a much better chance at knowing more of those keyword terms and suggestions than either Kyle or I will.
Great. Okay.
Yeah, and so as far as next steps, I think you and I need to have a conversation so we can set a precedence for what we want the suppliers to go through and the respective businesses, and then we can communicate that out, and you can communicate that out based on the outcome of our conversation, if that works for you.
Yeah, that's perfect.
So and then Yan, if there's any is your follow-up communication with this group or beyond, if there's any questions that weren't addressed that come up, feel free to reach out to me and Kim. We're happy to jump on a call or answer any questions that come up that maybe stem from follow-up discussions from this demo.
Perfect. Thank you very much. So thank you very much, Kyle. Thank you very much, Kim. I really appreciate your time. And unless there is some other discussion, question or comments from the group, I guess we'll we'll let you go and wish you a Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays. And we'll, I guess, Kyle, we'll have that chat in the new year.
Yeah, I'm happy to have that. Yeah, and you let me what works for you, and I'll make it happen on my side.
Perfect. Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Happy holidays. Merry
Thank
Christmas.
you,
holidays.
everyone. Thank
Bye.
you. Merry
Thank
Christmas.
you.
Happy
All
New
right.
Thank you very
Year.
much.
Thank
Thank you
you.
very much.
Thank
Bye-bye.